Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. It is Friday, the 12th of May, and we are recording after the close. My name is Ben Maldonado, and as always, I'm here with my partner, Barrie Hederachi. Barrie, how we doing? Are you awake?
It's one of those weeks, man. One of those weeks. What are you going to do?
Violently sideways for 6 weeks in some markets.
Steady, steady, steady.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about, the big five on the show with Barrie. We'll review ES, bonds, crude oil, gold, copper, the euro, and the dollar. So we'll go over those. And I have a couple commodities, only two to talk about today, nat gas and coffee. And we're going to spend some time in the show talking about, okay, when the markets are sideways, what do you do? Historically, what happens? So what should you do? But before we do that, and before I throw it over to Barrie, let's take a look at Bitcoin here. And the interesting thing is not that, to me, is not that Bitcoin, is under the main level here that we said was really key, which is this 28 and change, like 28. Let's see, it's 28,800. We're under that level, so the pressure's to the downside. But look what we did, this little move. We did a little ABCD. And a perfect one is that, with price and time hitting right at the low.
Right.
Is that going to be enough to stop it? Probably not. I mean, where the pressure is pushing it is right now is going to be this half square here.
And you got the trend line sitting under
and we got the trend line under it. The half square is around 24,400. So kind of pressure is going to be pushing it, sort of that way. And we'll see how it plays out. We battled up here for a couple months, with this limit here, this full square limit. And I'd say the decision was made this week that, the bears won that battle. So we got to see what happens. We got to see what kind and how much of a correction we get. We know we've got an ABC minimum that happened, but if we take out that low meaningfully next week, then you got to, the next support you got to look at is the half square. By the way, all the levels that we talk about and even the markets we don't talk about, the levels are up on a Google Doc spreadsheet, which we will post the link to when we post the link to the show tomorrow. Anything else to add on Bitcoin, Barrie? It's not a whole lot, but
I mean, if we're going higher, then this kind of a perfect ABCD pullback should hold.
Yes.
What that means is if we hold here, start moving higher, I think we could take out the last high.
Right.
But if it kind of peters out and kind of falters, then probably that trend line would be the next catch point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so watch and see if we can take out the high of this daily bar that set the low. That'll be a clue that, hey, the bulls, the ABCD was good and the bulls are fighting. But let's jump into the big five, Barrie. So let me throw it over to you and let's take a look and see what.
I was just going to say that if that ABCD gives out, that's probably not a good news.
No, not at all.
At this point,
Nope.
So that would be the thing to watch next week on that.
Yeah, it would mean that potentially we're catching a fast move here.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see. Price will tell us. Give us a clue which one looks more probable.
Yep. All right.
Let me throw it over to you. And there we are. Can we just replay the last week's show and the week before that and the week before?
Same channel, same price, same market, everything's the same.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What to do? It is what it is, like they say.
Yeah. You play the cards that are dealt to you, and this is the cards we have right now.
Yeah. That's right. What's happening is we're getting sort of a new bracket, right here. This is starting to be like 40.85 to about, let's say, 40.95. This is becoming the bracket, but everybody can see that. Well, little things to point out. We never took out this high yet.
Nope.
Didn't take out this high. Clearly didn't get up in here. So when these other highs were coming in, I was saying how important these highs are. And when this low came in, we called it out and said, once that's done, we'll have to remember that it's going to, that's like a seed that's going to sprout, and we're going to slowly start to go higher. And which is what we've done. Of course, all this kind of stalling and sideways has been sort of a signature for 2023, it's just all these patches, and with about 5% of the days are only trending.
And it's not bull market activity at all. Because bull markets don't sit around and wait for you to get on board,
Well, it's not a bull market like we're used to,
right.
like bull markets, or even a textbook example, or even down here, back in 2021. I mean, this market ripped, right?
I mean, look, it wasn't sitting around there.
No. I mean, a couple of days here and there, but this is ridiculous. I mean, this is just really pushing it, but that's all right. Well, we got to deal with all of them, right?
That's right.
And these are the markets where if you're going to trade these, this is where you tend to give it all back. So you got to be diligent about your work, and just stay on guard. I'm so tempted to say next week it's going to be the same as this week, but it could be. But what's also happening is we're losing a lot of momentum slowly.
A lot, yeah.
We got up there in a couple of 2-3 days in a hurry, and then we made another attempt up here. From there on, after this high, it's been really kind of losing it. It's just kind of getting weak, getting soft. And we never really got established above 4150. So this is the thing, guys. We try to get up there, we get back. We try to get up there, get back. Try to get up there, get back. When we say, get up above and hold it, it means, we clear it, and any kind of a pullbacks are holding above it, right?
That's right.
And these levels actually mean a lot. So you can see 41 is just not happening. Not to mention, we went little more than 144 down from the high, and 72 is roughly, about 50%, actually 50% right in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And we're just stuck there. Now, if this was a full-blown bear market, what would happen is that 50% we'll tap it and we'll start to sell off again.
Exactly.
Here we're tapping it, but not able to get over it, but not really selling off. So I'm not saying it's manipulated or anything. I'm just saying that
it's a lot of indecision.
Yes, and it's not behaving clearly, not like we're back in the bull market, but it's not clearly behaving like it's a bear market. But it could be a part of a bear market, right? It could be part of a sort of another distribution or another accumulation. Now, because we've been making higher lows, it looks like accumulation is going on at some level, maybe in different sectors. But that could result in a tighter and tighter sort of a coiling, and then we break out, one or the other. But I'll tell you, I was looking at some things today, and I got to tell you this. It's kind of funny. And I'll just put it out there. We'll see. I mean, if it looks like this is a sell, okay? All right. I'm just saying, if you look at it technically, people looking at indicators, this, that, the other thing, it looks like, if we go down 2-3 days down, people are going to get real bearish. Right. But it also looks like to me, if you want to play sort of like chess on this, it looks like we could sell off and then catch everybody on the wrong foot and then rally for some reason. So I'm thinking it's probably the latter. Like, we're going to sell off and then catch everybody, getting bared up, and then maybe run up and take out 4150 for good. So I'm just thinking, those are the two ways to go, but the sell looks obvious. So usually the obvious doesn't pan out.
It's a perfect way to think like a criminal. I always say that. Like, how do they, fleece the most people? That would be it, right? Get everybody to take the sell. Yeah. And then just jam it through 4150, because the
sell would look good, because at this point you can see it's starting to make lower highs, right?
Yeah.
And if we take out like 40-38 or so, psychology is going to shift, and everybody gets bared up. Okay, fine. We might get down to, somewhere between 39 and 40. It gets real negative. Everybody gets, anyway, it looks bearish, and then all of a sudden, bam, we turn on a dime and we go the other way.
Right.
So that could happen. That's one thing. So we'll see. We're just waiting for the market to tell us what's happening, and we'll look at the charts and see if we can figure it out. Going on from here,
The
I
weekly.
hate to say it, but man, for this 41 is still the key.
That is the key.
And I really can't add anything more to it. I know it's getting boring, but that's just what it is. And we have to stick with that. Like I said, like this week, we at least were able to pop up a little bit, even for a few hours above it, and then, but spent majority of the time below it, right? So it's possible because of that, if you want to read the structure, read the lines, then it's possible that we get a little bit weak next week, maybe come down and tap this trend line and, test the lows, right? And that could take us in for maybe or maybe get down to this trend line, like 40-38 area, and maybe give us a 3 drives kind of a pattern here.
Right.
Which this market has been doing quite a bit, all kinds of 3 drives. So it's possible we do that and then, somehow bail out of it. Now, if that gets out of hand, of course, we could really take a dive like it looks like in the books. So we have to be careful. We can't really forward think this too much. We got to kind of play it as it comes up on the radar. And if you guys want to keep up with everything, we update stuff every day on Twitter. Both of our Twitter links are in the description, so you can check that. And if you like our work, please subscribe, share, and like our videos if you like the work. Sharing really helps, bringing new people that likes this type of work. And it's not everybody, right?
No, it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
But anyway, so I'm thinking of checking down in the support area. So we'll see how that works out. Just only because it's just bending so hard, right? There's just selling going on. Just can't make any headway even to get up to the 72. And we had some chances to do that this week. So that's it. You want to add anything for the daily? We'll jump onto the weekly.
Now let's look at the weekly. I think it's good coverage on the daily. Well, that 216 is key. You could tell.
The 216 is important to it's like the 150 for the daily, 4150 for the daily is pretty much that, right?
Right.
And so we're not settling. We're kind of going in between and not really coming back to do anything.
Major battle. Major battle.
I mean, look how many weeks, right? 6 weeks of battles.
Yep.
So what are we going to do? We're going to wait.
Yep.
And as traders, we're not looking to invest in this thing. So as traders, we're going to look to wait for the signs and wait for clear shots. And you don't want to get involved, when you've got 6 weeks of sideways.
Brutal chop.
And we'll talk about this in a bit. So anyway, for now, not much. Like I said, we're this week we're closing just under the 200, the full square, which is around 41.40. We're just stuck till we're not.
That's a fact.
So we'll just move on. That's what we can do. Bonds.
Same story.
Not much more to add to this. It's pretty much the same story. And we drew up this box a couple of weeks ago, and boy, are we really diligent about being inside of it.
That's a great box, man. Look at all the hits.
And it looks like we're going to continue into next week. You guys need to probably know the levels. So the lower boundary is about 129. Upper boundary is, let's just say, the 134. So in between that, you can probably day trade and do whatever you want in a shorter time frame. But the bigger picture is just basically stuck.
Yeah, not trending yet.
Not trending yet. Now, if you look at the weekly, we try to get on the weekly for some guidance and some extra help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not there. It's just even a bigger expanding triangle going on. So, and anytime you see these, you just got to be cautious. That's all I can say.
Yeah, be patient.
Line up. The good thing about bonds is, when it gets going, it'll trend nicely. Like, you can see, all the way through here, all the way through, even the downside, right? Downside. Yeah, we, consolidate a little bit here, but then nice leg consolidation, nice leg, right? So I'm guessing we're going to have a consolidation and another nice leg. So we just have to be patient because the good times are coming after each one of these are over with, right?
And I think that's the key thing, Barrie, is that following this sort of boring, mundane, dull markets, chaos comes, right?
Definitely.
After we chop, after we do this, and the longer we do it, generally the bigger the chaos is, right? Because as you were talking about it, they catch a lot of people on the wrong side because you got
Right.
everybody betting on one side or the other, and then half the crowd is going to be wrong and they're going to have to reverse positions. And that's
Right.
what really gets things moving.
Right. Exactly. So
So
yeah, for now, not much.
that's a good
See,
ellipse.
yeah, even with the ellipse, you can see we're just tapping up against the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's possible we hang in there for a while. We'll see how that works out. So
Okay.
yeah, not much. Just, I mean, doesn't even need a review really.
No.
Let's go on to, well, something that's moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So what happened last week, you know, we talked about 73.50 being the key level. And yeah, we kind of got stuck right at around that level and sold off towards the end of the week. And again, not much to say. Take your lower time frames if you're trading this. Just trade it for what it is. 73 is resistance, 64, 65 is support. And when it gets to those, you can probably take the shorter term and trade it to the other end or to whatever end. But as far as daily goes, we had a good false break here.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow through, well, we know we got a little bit of follow through. $10 is not bad.
Nice move. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad for crude. So the
Mhm.
key, I mean, all jokes aside, what I'm really watching here is to see where the pullback will hold, right?
Yeah, I made a note when I was looking at crude is like watch for the next daily reversal.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be really good. Yeah.
And that'll be a signal that hey, things, if it gives us a higher low, you might want to, find a way to get in.
Yeah. So I'll make a note, and I know we have a few people following us on Twitter that trade crude, so I'll post it maybe a Monday or Tuesday where we're going to look for levels, and we can come up with some decent levels, and if we find one or two, we can stick with it and see how we move away from that. But for now, it's just it's possible that we're also trapped in this.
That is possible. Yep.
And we talked about it last week. We had this upper box here that we were trapped in above 73.50 being sort of the pivot line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this a few videos back, how price historically been bouncing up and down around that 72.350. And here we were above it, broke down for briefly, went down to support, broke above it, went up to the next level, which was 83. And once we got down to 60, 64 area, then what I said was, if it stalls here, it's possible we start boxing up down here between 64 and 73, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that's happening. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Again, clearly the market's not trending. So in the sense of a bull market, right? Or even a bear market. So we'll have to watch it till we start getting some kind of a break and start following it closely. So here's the weekly. What happened was the week before, we found this support rallied, and this week we really couldn't even get above the 50% of the square, which was right around 74.
Yeah, that half square is good.
Yeah, half square is pretty good. It's been good here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all through here we held it, and now we're coming from below and can't really tap above that. Of course, we know all this is sitting on top of it.
Yep.
And well, you can see that resistance is no joke, right?
No,
it's going to take some kind of a deal to break through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a bit sitting up there. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be weak and hang around here for a little bit longer.
Right.
So we'll just leave it at that.
Don't buy short dated options.
Yeah. Unless you're getting out the same day.
Right.
Like I've been doing lately.
Right.
It's like gold, well, it's behaving okay. We drew up that box and said as long as we're in there, we're not breaking through the 90 to the downside, gold is on firm ground, which is what it's been doing. And now we were settled above the box. And I think when I drew the box a couple of weeks ago or last week, I said, if we can break to the upside and we hold above the box, it would be
really bullish.
Yeah, it's bullish. It's in a bullish spot. And so we're kind of, we came a couple of bucks under it, but generally it's above the box, so it's okay. We did break the trend line today. So
that's a sign of momentum waning, huh?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so for now, we're 135 days out near a high. And I think that's what we talked about. Maybe we can blow up into that. And this is close enough, off by 1 bar, really,
One bar.
right? So we could have made the high a couple of bars. If you're going to take this high, we could have made a high there. So it could have been, this cycle could have ended. And obviously we'll know if it comes back down into 1980 area, and obviously if he takes it out. But for now, it's a little early to call that. So we'll wait it out and see.
Hey Barry, put an ABC down off that high.
A little one, mini one.
Yeah, that little one. We might be doing something like that too.
Sound like the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, it takes us right into support.
Mm-hmm. Well, right for the
Look
90.
at that. Yep.
So that's possible, right? And that would be actually kind of nice.
That would be beautiful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Not much for now. Gold is also not trending.
Right.
It was, but it's not now. But I see an ellipse could fit in here nicely.
Yes, that's
and
true.
That looks like the middle part of it.
Yeah, that would be the major axis there.
Want to check it and see?
Mm-hmm. Look at that. Nice one.
Yeah. Pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have a whole bunch of ellipses on everything going sideways.
Right.
But, this is just to say, you can see how important that 90 is.
Huge.
Looking at the geometry of that. So clearly, if the 90 goes, which is around 1980 price-wise, then we can expect
deeper. Mm-hmm.
It's funny, the bottom of the ellipse is 1887.
Right.
So it's possible we get down here and consolidate some more. Looking at the weekly, well, this is not a bear market exactly on the longer term. Yeah, we're having a bit of a consolidation here, so that's all right. Didn't quite make an ABC, which is ABCD off of this.
Mm-hmm.
ABCD would be up here. We still have time, so it could still hit that. But for now, the 50% of the square that we've been talking about, we had a hit here, second and a third.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens until we really get under 2000. It's in a strong position, could bolt in a hurry. So I wouldn't be shorting this exactly, but again, this is not really moving for the last few weeks, so it's not something that we trade. We would like to trade things that are actually trending. So that's why we're watching, and we have the bracket, so we're just kind of watching it for now. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I did notice there was a false break on that high we made. So
yeah,
something ended, and we'll see if it does.
Well, I mean, here's something for next week, you guys. If you want to watch the weekly low, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had a false break. We had an inside bar, and the low would be 2005. Let's say it's 570, but let's say 5.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take that out, and then we manage to take out the low of the high bar, which would be around 1985. Well, there you go. That's why we get the 1985.
Exactly.
If we get that
ABCD.
Yeah. Then, so if we take that out, then it could be negative, right? That would be a signal. We're going to probably go lower.
Mm-hmm.
But until we do that, if we're above that level, above this area, it's just hanging around. So,
yep.
Well, copper moved a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, it did.
And you can't say you didn't know the level. Right?
Nope. Look at that.
Yeah. 383 was the level. It was a half square. 90 is 45 degrees up from the low from last July. We broke through. Well, looks like we could go lower now. I mean, if it comes back up, it got all that overhead, right? It's possible that we consolidate here. We took out the low from last January. So the next line I have drawn is down here by around 355. So that could be the support that it's going to look for. But for now, it looks like it's breaking down. That doesn't look like a false anything. Copper weekly, and here's the triangle that we had drawn. You can see we had that box drawn a couple of weeks before that, and you can see we before last we took out the low of that. Really couldn't get above. Then last week was inside, really looking weak, and this week we took it out. So it's possible we come down and check the channel. 355 area would be right in here. So that would be actually a very good spot in the big picture. Moving on to the dollar.
There was some strength there.
Yep, right off. They did the opposite of copper, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So dollar was sitting on the half square. It's been sitting there all year. And I drew up that box, I don't know, last week or the week before, saying, this is the area we need to break out of. So it looks like we got to move. And, any pullbacks holding above that box, I think looks to be positive. Can't say anything other than that. And so that low is like 102. And as long as we're above that, looks like we could be pushing higher because we waited for that, right? We weren't trying to trade it in here.
Nope.
But I kept saying it's bullish, bullish, bullish. So finally we got a break, and
yeah, we did.
We'll see how the follow through comes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I've been saying bullish, bullish is that we've been holding above this 90 on a weekly, and we didn't even quite get to the 90, right? Which is about 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I've been kind of bullish. And we might not be done yet, but anyway, we spent enough time, and now we're moving a little higher. We'll start to trade that on the long side. And euro, of course, was sitting on top of the 144. And I drew up the box, saying, long as we're in here, it's more positive. But if we break that to the downside, then it's going to get weak. Thursday, we broke to the downside hard, right?
Yep. Follow through today.
Good follow through today. So it looks like it's got lower to go. Next support, halfway decent support, looks like about 106, 107. So this could be traded now that we're coming off that 144. Looks good. We'll have more next week on the currencies because we just broke this week, right? So
yeah,
we'll catch up on those things.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the weekly, this is why we check the weekly charts. Every week we've been watching this, saying, hey, this 110 area is resistance, and we've been bouncing along that for an entire month and couldn't do it. And finally we broke down, right? Reversed. Yep. So there we go. And it's at a pretty steep angle. If we get any lower, this is not a trend line. It's just the ABCD, but
sure,
but it's catching the low. So trend line will be the same thing. And if we take that out, then we can expect lower prices.
Man, that half square was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's why I put it in blue. Bold it just so everybody can see it.
Right.
See the big bold line.
Yeah.
Right there. All right, that's all I got. Let's move on to your commodities, and we'll cover that.
Sounds good.
Well, the NQ is moving higher, right? Higher lows.
Yeah, it's trying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were trying to get out of this little congestion zone here. Poked above it on Wednesday, full bar above it on Thursday, and then today we're right back into it. The key thing is, though, we're holding above this full square, which is a little over 13,100. As long as we're on top of that, we're bullish up to the half square here, and that takes us to 13.7 and those last August highs. So it's sideways, but you can see it leaning and curling and trying to actually push higher, where we can actually have a new trend line now here. It's pushing.
Yeah, it's above that the main square, so you got to give it that.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is that that level. As long as we stay above that 13.1 level, we're in good shape for the bulls.
Yep.
The ABC is still out there, the target, which is up around 14,000.
And what's the level for the ABCD?
That's right around 14,000.
Okay.
So that remains the target. We'll see. As long as we're above 13.1, we're in good shape. If we get below that, then you got to look out and say, okay, this whole thing was distribution. So let's see what happens with it.
Yep.
On the commodity side, some of the commodities have kind of ended a move up. Like we talked about gold. You talked about gold. So gold, silver, and copper look like they're all correcting now. The grains, had a nice move out of the lows, and then this week we saw sharp pullbacks in wheat, corn, and soybeans. So I'm watching those to see if they set up, giving us a higher low than that original low and something that we can get involved in, but they're not ready yet. Crude, you talked about, it's sort of struggling in this lower level, seeing if we can get a higher low there.
Right.
Sugar and cocoa had square outs. So anybody who's been playing the long side there, I would be careful. We had square outs and reversals. It looks like, we're going to do some sort of correction there. Cotton continues sideways. So there's nothing to do there. But again, I think that one is lulling everybody to sleep. So we just got to wait for the proper opportunity there once we break out of that massive 6 month sideways we've been seeing. But one that looks decent and looks like we have a potentially a good move coming out of it is coffee. We triangulated the low here, got a nice move up out of it. I just drew this ABC because this is, I think, the minimum of what we get out of this move is an ABCD here. What we were looking at is we've got this pullback that's happening here. We're pulling right back to the trend line. We're just under this half square, and we tested that, and now we're pushing down a little bit. So as long as we hold this trend line and then if it can give me a daily reversal, I think I want to be on this one again, because it's setting up for a third higher low, right? We had the low, higher low, another higher low if we stop right in this trend line. And then a reversal would give us the momentum, to push, and I think take out these highs and go up here and test this full square, which is around 212.
Okay.
If you look left, you can see how important this 210 to 212 area is. If you look at your monthly, if you look at your weekly, there is a lot of overhead there. So getting up into this area would be a very bullish sign. And then if we can just sort of, go sideways or, kill time and try and build a base to push through it, it's going to have to do a lot of work to get through this up here. But I think down here, around 180, 180 is good support. If we can hold, it's weekly support. So if we can hold this 180 area on this pullback, hold this trend line and reverse, I think we're good for a move up to this, 200 to 210 area. Anything jump out to you on the chart here?
Well, I had that same 180. So
yep.
I think as long as we're above that, we're okay. If we slip through that, then 165 becomes the next support for me.
Agreed. So 180 comes right in here. It's weekly support and it's trend line support. And we're right near there. So if we come down here, tap it, and then get a daily reversal, that'll be a signal for me that coffee will be percolating.
It's got to hold this. It's really critical that we hold 180.
Agreed.
Yep.
It's big. It's big on a weekly. All right, let's go to the last one. The last one is a familiar one we've been talking about for a while, and it kicked up nicely today, and that's nat gas.
Right.
Look at how quietly this thing has been. All these this is quiet for nat gas. This is more like nat gas, right?
Right.
These types of moves. So look at this structure down here. So we made this low, had a false break, nice initial push up off, pull back, higher low, right? There's your first positive sign, reversed up, and now we're above this half square. Got a weekly close above it.
Well, I can't see how we're going to miss this low, but we're tracking it so well.
I listen. It's one of those things, because when you catch it, and when this thing does come out of the hole, I mean, these are the kind of moves you get.
Yeah.
So
it can go on for months and months. So
it's worth tracking. It's worth using your technicals, using your momentum, whatever you use to watch a market that's turning and setting up. This is just classically and quietly, doing what it needs to do to turn the corner. What's the next big marker? Right here. Take out that high. So if we take out this, call it 252 area, that should say, okay, we've got good lows in here, and we're moving higher.
Right.
I think a reasonable target if we get going, if we take out here, up here around 4, it would take us up to the downtrend line in this area, take us up to this full square.
Right. Man, that'd be a hell of a move, huh?
It would, percentage wise, it's a really, really nice move. So I haven't been talking about it every week, but when it makes these sort of bullish technicals and it gives the bullish signals, I want to bring it to people's attention because this is a market that it appears has been under accumulation in here, right? Like it was selling, but the selling wasn't aggressive. Like, look how small these bars were coming down into the low. Right. I mean, you had major divergences in momentum here at this low. You had the false break, and now we've gotten a higher low. So I like nat gas. I think it looks bullish. I have no idea what the news is going to be. I have no idea what's going to send it up again. But somebody with money, with influence in this market is stepping in here. And you can see on the whole way down, other than this, ABCD up, there wasn't a lot of action to the upside.
Right.
It was a better sell the whole way. So I think you need to keep your eye on nat gas. I think it's showing the classic signs of a bottom and a corner. 252 is the next major marker that increases the confidence, dramatically once we take that out, because then we have, a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high again.
Yeah, and it's also sitting on top of the highs of the 2020 bottom, like where it was consolidating.
Yeah, we're down into this.
So it's in a good spot. It's solid, it's a good spot.
Yeah. So nat gas is the other one to look at. The others, as I detailed, either have work to do, they've topped short term, or they're correcting, or they're finishing up, some sort of consolidation. So I don't think there's anything to do in the other ones, but these certainly, both coffee and nat gas, certainly look good. Is there anything, Barrie, when you're in these big sideways, like what clues do you look for that you could pass along that tell people, hey, the sideways is ending, it's ready to go?
Well, it's all market structure, right? And patterns. And well, this is why I like using these squares, because it helps me figure out where the cycles begin and end. So then we at least have a clue. Okay, we're going to look for some kind of a counter trend or a move reversal coming out of this point, this window in time. So once we have, so for example, like here's a good example. If you go from the high in natural gas, right about, we just use that, May 3rd was 180 bars from the high. That's 6 months roughly, right? So normally a 180 marks out that 180-degree cycle. Right. And so from here, if we start to get some clues of, is it starting to move higher? Are we getting higher highs and higher lows? Well, you can start trading it in that direction.
Right.
So up until then, so that's one way of using squares to help, when square stops, price stops at some kind of a price and time level and it starts to move out of that, then we know it's trending. So that's one way to know it's trending. The other is to have one of those price and time point. We passed that. And it's making higher highs and higher lows continually. We can take that as trending. Now, coming into that, if you take the period from like February, that's been more or less sideways.
Yep.
So if you study the structure, we had so many number of days coming down. Like we did 90 days low to low. That low from October low to the February low was 90 days. So when you know that, then well, low to low, that we know that could have ended that cycle. So
that's a cycle. Yep.
Yeah, we could have ended that, the big downforce. And in order, before the next one starts, we'll have to set up another shorter 45-day cycle or something like that, which it didn't. And it cruised right into the 180. So now we're looking to see, how the price action will change. I mean, that's using squares, but if you just be able to read the charts and look at the structure, we always talked about, like, even Elliott counts will help a lot just to figure out where you are. Not that you had to become an expert at it,
right?
But just the 5-7 counts, right? If you've done this many counts runs, then you're ready to consolidate, because nothing runs forever, right? So if you're coming from any kind of a low, you can count out, did we get a 1? Did we get a 2? Did we get a 3 and a 4? 5, 7. So this, you can count the legs like that. We're not doing a educational thing, but I mean, there's tons of material out there. You guys can research, to market structure, counting the waves. And the easiest thing is, I was teaching my son this the other day. Like, if the way to figure out if it's trending or not is, as soon as we get into a new high, you draw a horizontal line. And if it's trending, it needs to take that out. And if it doesn't, then you take the next pivot low and you draw another horizontal line, and now you have a bracket. So then, so long as we're in there, we're consolidating. So when you put little tricks like that on top of the indicators, or top of the squares, and top of the knowledge of squares, and counting any kind of waves, it really helps you figure out the second wave, complex, fourth waves, all these things. You can, at least you'll know, hey, we're not in the same leg. Now we're not running, we're not trending, trending starting to stop. And once you know that, you just really have to wait till we start trending again. And that means, there's all kinds of stuff market will do during consolidation that'll give you some hints towards what it's going to do next. So you look for those things, and we talk about those in our show every time. And we look for those hints, and you try to structure things and draw your lines and bracket things and box things. That's why so all the things that I'm boxing, you can see, like, most of all charts have boxes drawn on them.
Sure.
So without saying it, if you study the charts, study our work, you'll know that's kind of what we do in the market stall. You kind of, you draw some frames and you wait for it to break out of it, because that's what a trend is when it's breaking out of consolidations, right? So that, I mean, the classic, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things, if people are intimidated by the squares or they don't understand the geometry, just visually look at the chart, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Look at the difference, right? Look at the difference in bars just in here. And then here's where we started transitioning, right? The bars started getting smaller.
So right there, you can do this thing I'm talking about. If you draw some horizontal lines on that first February box, right? Yeah, right, that tight one right there.
Yeah, right here, this little one.
And the bottom. And you wait for breaks of that to give you the trend, right? And you can see to the upside, it broke, and it gave you like a 5-day run to the upside. You can say, well, is the trend starting? But then it reversed, so that was a false start. It happened at the bottom there. It had a false break, but that was a false break. We can see that easily, right?
Right there, yeah.
Then the price got back into the box again, and we started trading lower. So we can say, yeah. And then after that, we broke to the downside, but we're trading lower. And then we stopped. So as soon as we stop, we draw another line. So at the bottom, right?
Yeah, right in here.
Yeah, right in there. And even before that, like the first low, right?
Yeah.
And so once you do that, and then you draw another line about the 50% line, which would be the upper boundary of that box.
Yeah, right in here.
Right in there. So now you have it drawn out. Now, as long as we're messing around those lines and really can't settle above or below, it's not ready yet. And it'll have a lot of starts and bumps and, all kinds of things happening. So now here, what's happened is, we broke out, kind of couldn't make it because we're on the upper consolidation area, right? There's some selling came in. But what happened on that selling is it didn't really make a new low. There were buyers coming in and buying it up as a higher low.
Right in here.
Right. Then we had a little ABC. Now we're taking out the D, see where we go from that. Yeah. Now, after that is done, if we consolidate it on top of your half square, well, it's bullish, right?
That's bullish. Yep.
It's bullish, unless it stops that. As soon as it stops moving higher, you draw that first horizontal line to see if you're going to bracket. So that's kind of what I do. That's something I do without any indicators, without anything. You can use that. And maybe we can do a little video. I can show that in real time, like,
Yeah, I think that would be
I'll do
helpful
it.
for people.
Mhm.
But I mean, look at what the brackets do for you. Look at the change in character, right? Even if this isn't the ultimate low, something has changed,
Mhm.
right? This was a market that was moving and trending really fast,
Mhm.
and now we're going nowhere, right?
And then look at that consolidation in December of 21, right there.
Mm-hmm.
See, now there, as soon as it made that low and reversed, you draw the box. So right away, within a couple of days, you know. Yeah, you don't, yeah, just a flat box.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that one got
Yeah.
pulled.
So once you have that, which is pretty much on your square, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
And you can see how we broke out, came back, didn't really hit the bottom of the box, which is bullish, right? High or low.
The first one here. Yep.
Yep. And then it spiked up again, came back down, higher
Higher
low.
low.
I remember that because that's the one we played and
Yeah.
watching, watching that structure, right?
Right.
So by the time that third one came down, then we consolidated higher up. Well, it was higher lows all the way. And then we broke out of that full square at 38 and we were gone.
Yeah.
And then it was just trading, regular trading, right?
Yeah.
So anytime the market is trending, it's making higher highs and higher lows, it stalls. You draw a line on top if it's going higher. And then you wait for wherever the pullback stops, you draw the next horizontal line, then you got your range. So that's the easiest way I know.
But this, I think, gives people a good visual of the transition, right? Here was a transition.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a transition. Now, what's going to come out of this? We don't know. But we know if we get higher highs and higher lows, probabilities are we're going to go much higher.
Right. So higher lows here is the key. We're going to watch, just like we did in that December, January move.
That's right.
In the day, right.
That's right.
Yep.
So and you could do this on any market that's going sideways, right? And so, don't force the trades. You don't have to trade if it's not trending. All you need to do is define that consolidation, define that congestion or chop zone, whatever you want to call it, and then watch for are you getting higher highs? Are you getting lower lows? What clues are you getting as to the way it's going to break? And then watch and see if it can break out and sit on top, or does it break out and fail? And then you say, okay, we're right back in it. Nothing for me to do. It's frustrating to have these sideways markets, but it also is a real opportunity to create a sort of a punch list for you of markets where if it does this, then I know I'm going to do that. And you look for the setups that can give you, moves like this, potentially.
Right. It'll be good to study like consolidation patterns too. I'm sure you can Google it and there'll be a whole bunch of them. So once you know what they kind of look like, it helps.
Absolutely. Anything else you're watching this week, Barrie?
Man, definitely have to start watching the dollar, watching crude, and of course the S&P.
Right.
And the NASDAQ.
Because the breakout's coming. We just don't know when. We don't know if it's going to be this week, next week, next month. It's coming. But
it's kind of a game to watch if we're going to get a false, kind of a break to the downside and then flip or not, So watching all that.
Well, listen, everybody have a great week. Don't get frustrated. Just get focused, stay focused, identify these chop zones, and then you know what to do when price, moves one direction or the other.
Well, I was just going to say, you want to practice even like back testing. You want to be able to tell when a trend is starting, right? That's one. The other thing to sort of practice is know when a trend is possibly ending. So those are the two corners that you want to be able to tell.
Yep.
At least in short-term trading, we're not talking investing for years, but.
No, that's right.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Well, Barrie, have a terrific week. Everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Have a good week.
All right. All right. Bye-bye.